All right, let's get the nice things out of the way. For one, action-wise, it was a cool finish. You had the giant, monstrous Demon King in his horrific, almost Lovecraftian monster form, and big explosions. He had this massive one where the size of the Demon King was like probably like 1/50th of the size of the explosion when you compare that to Britannia. Well, you can't compare it to Britannia. You almost get a size. There's like a comment by Zeldris saying like that much power could have wiped out the whole country. I mean, you could go with it maybe, but as it is, regardless, cool explosion, and end of the Demon King. He's been destroyed. His body is wiped out, and the only thing left is the Ten Commandments that are just laying there. And let me say a couple things. Well, let me get the other nice thing out of the way. I do like this form from Meliodas. I like the Demon King form. I think it looks really cool. Not only do I like the outfit design, I think the wings look really neat. I like the weird fact that he's got hands, not just in his, but also like we saw with the Demon King when he took over Meliodas' body. He had those hands. I don't know why he's got big claw hands as like the trait for his thing. I guess, he could do that cool aspect when the Demon King was controlling him and, just arms folded across each other and beating people up with just those big, weird back arms. I mean, you can go with that. But regardless, there's still so many aspects about this form existing, and the fact that he didn't use it in that fight at all is just an issue in of itself. So, what's funny is I noticed the explosion that Meliodas caused from their big combo attack did more damage to the 7 deadly sins than the entirety of the Demon King did. Like, when you look at like the last couple chapters, I mean, really most of them are just slight scrapes. It's not even those like deep dark markings and you got blood all over him. Diane looks fine, and like Bon looks relatively fine, Gauther looks fine, Elizabeth looks fine. Everybody really just looks pretty alright. Nobody really looked like they were in the big final battle that, of this boss of an entire race, and not just a race, one of the 2 dominant races in the series. They look relatively fine. They look like they got in a scuffle with like we just got out of a time skip bad guy. I don't understand how the Demon King managed to put up that feeble of a battle, but it doesn't matter because his entire reign is over. He's been wiped out. He's been taken care of. There's no real knowledge of whether or not Nakaba is going to do anything with his Supreme Goddess. I don't know why it would matter, because really she's not a threat at this point, when we know that as a majority of the main cast is, the Archangels are nothing. You have Meliodas straight having not only the Demon King form, but Zeldris just straight says, oh yeah, this form is beyond what Father had. So I'm just like, if this form is more powerful than the Demon King, and he could have activated any state, why didn't he? Because now, for one, Escanor is going to die. Escanor is going to die because he ended up activating Sunshine, and not during the time where it should have been, but he substituted his life force instead. So he is dying after this. He should die relatively right after this. It'd be kind of lame for him to have that aspect and then just be like, oh no, he's fine. Kind of cheat his way out. But especially for like the way that it was on his character. It wasn't just like I have a self-sacrifice technique. It was a really big thing for him specifically. Big character step forward, which I really liked, because I think, Escanor is my favorite out of the 7 deadly sins. And now Meliodas, for some reason, not using this boost, has cost one of his friends. More of them could have died in the process. Why he didn't use this form in the first place, I don't know. And the whole explanation of the attack, like, it's like, it could have wiped up Britannia, but it didn't, because he aimed it at the lake, and the lake that had unlimited power somehow was able to absorb enough energy that would destroy the Demon King. But the Demon King didn't just straight absorb the lake when he grew giant. Why he didn't put his commandments into the lake, I don't know. Why they went into the land, and somehow while touching the lake, he didn't absorb any energy from the lake. Why even on the platform, he didn't say, oh, it wasn't like, oh man, I've been trapped somewhere far beyond, like teleported far away from where the lake is. I don't know where it is now. It's literally aim down and you're gonna go straight back to the lake. The Demon King has to be the worst big villain I've ever seen in a ongoing series. I mean, it's appalling. because it wasn't like, oh, the series is getting rushed. It's, you know, instead of like what was planning out for 30 chapters, it's gonna be you have 5 to end it. It's like, well, shit, I gotta figure out what to do. He had the length, and somehow the Demon King just was fumbling over logic time and time again. Nothing about that encounter made sense, both on the Demon King's thought process, but again on Meliodas', why did he drop this form that by himself was more powerful than the Demon King? Why did he need everyone to team up if all he had to do was pop this form and destroy him? I don't know. I like the whole part where, you know, when Zeldris is trying to, like, say, like, you could use that power to, you know, to rule over, you know, the demon world and over Purgatory and do all this stuff. And Lotus is like, yeah, I could go and, you know, potentially become a horrific evil guy like our father was, but I'm not going to. I thought that was a pretty good part for him. You know, he's trying to end the cycle. He wants to end that aspect more than just being really powerful. Like, you know, what he knows what he values above just strength, which I did like. I thought that was good. I liked that aspect of Meliodas was shown, because in terms of Meliodas's character, the way he, you know, has with like Elizabeth and Zeldris, you know, as with the other Seven Deadly Sins, I liked his team interactions. I don't like him in fights, because this was a great example of it. Somehow the villain got way dumber while fighting him, and it wasn't like oh, the heat of battle, like, you know, I overestimated this one attack or something. It was, dude, you had ample amounts of time, literally, to aim down, destroy the platform. You didn't have to destroy the whole platform. Make a hole through it, big enough for you to fall straight through, or just, you know, jump off the edge. Or when you straight absorbed into your commandments and pieces into the ground, you were literally touching the lake. Why didn't you absorb the lake? I don't know. Demon King is just a buffoon of the highest order. I don't understand how he could have been such a moron, but he was. And then Meliodas ends up destroying the commandments. There's actually a cool panel that, you know, when he's doing it, you see one of them, the one that looks like a bear claw. That panel is like split in half. I like the panel layout because it's like a little bit of a symbol of them breaking, and then they finally decay, and it looks like the Holy War is over. And with this, it's dependent, because out of everything in the series, for one, I will say these things. For one, we know the Mother of Chaos exists. The Mother of Chaos is apparently stronger than the Demon King and the Supreme Goddess. That is already established. Though not canon, the movie like pretty much shows that Mama Hawk is the Mother of Chaos. Though that is not canon, easily could change. I'm hoping it changes, because it would be stupid for Mama Hawk to be the Mother of Chaos unless she's like, I've been, you know, just watching the whole time, now I'm actually gonna do bad guy stuff. Like, otherwise it'd be like, why would she turn on them and become a villain? And there is the fact that we know there is potentially things in other countries, because the Seven Deadly Sins world is, you know, real Earth, but in a fictional sense. Like, Britannia is based off of real life Britannia. We know Nanashi is pretty much from Japan, and he was strong enough that he could, you know, run through gray and red demons like nothing. So clearly where he's strong, or where he's from, people are strong. They could easily have their own monsters, and each country could have their own Demon King. And maybe beyond this, it's like, it turns out this Demon King, you know, the one from Britannia, was like, knew all these other ones, and all the other ones are freaking out, and like a sequel is like, okay, now the Seven Deadly Sins have to go and meet other crews from other countries, and they have to take out other Demon Kings, because now these like big boss monster super bosses are like fighting for supremacy because there's a space open or something. There's potential for more. The question is, does Nakaba want there to be more? I don't actually know how Seven Deadly Sins sold this year. I imagine it's still selling fairly well. Like, even 1 million is still pretty good. I'm pretty sure it sold more than that. Again, I don't know. Regardless, it's still popular. It's still got, you know, a loyal fan base. I imagine a lot of people are salty over these chapters because there's a lot of bumps in this that I don't understand. I don't know what Nakaba's planning. I don't know what his goal was. Here's another thing. I will say this 100%. If Nakaba ends up having, like I said, there's more, you know, Demon King equivalents in other lands. Like, if there's one of the Japanese monsters, there's one of South American monsters, there's one of African monsters. You know, there's a version of the Demon King in each major land, and, you know, it's based off of whatever their lore on their kind of interpretation of demons and whatever are. And they're all equal to or greater than the Demon King. Okay, then this Demon King wasn't really the final boss. He was just what you think was the final boss, kind of like Lord Genome in Gurren Lagann, though that was treated like a proper big boss battle. If it turns out there's more beyond this, and there's actually bigger threats, and really the Demon King was just pretty much existent to flex the power of somebody of that class and to really get characters kind of like trained up for what's to come, that's perfectly fine. Because the reason that is the Demon King having this treatment as the final boss is the problem. If he's not the final boss and there's more beyond him, perfectly fine, because then he's just a big bad guy. He's just a big, strong enemy. And at that point, it's like, who cares then? And he didn't really have a lot to his character, to his backstory, to who he was. He just was this big, bad, strong guy. And, I mean, he was hard to kill in terms of, like, they kept taking him out, and then he had another form, or he'd body hop, or he'd absorb him to land. That's okay. That is how Nakaba, I think, could take this and make it fine. And he has things set up so that could be the case, which is what I'm hoping for. Because I would instantly just... I'm trying to snap. I'm not very good at snapping out. I'll snap near the mic. That would instantly just make it so those gripes washed away. Because it's instead not of, well, the final boss ended up being pathetic. It was, you assumed that was the final boss, but really he was just a big measuring stick to get you ready for more. Again, think about that as the hopeful side. Because he like I said, he's got stuff set up if he wants to continue beyond this, or he could end this here. I don't expect the Supreme Goddess to be a really big thing, but I'm hoping that this isn't where it ends. Even if there's only one more arc, I just don't want the series to end on the Demon King. I'd be perfectly fine with another year of Seven Deadly Sins for it to have a proper end series bad guy, because it's just like, well, it just doesn't feel right. Like, the characters don't really look like they went through like a big battle. Most of them are fine, and obviously I know Elizabeth healed them at the start of this chapter, but like even before that, they barely look damaged. I mean, it'd be harder because Escanor is gonna die. Maybe they could have somebody step in and become like his replacement, and you could have somebody kind of take over his legacy. And I could see something like that, or maybe it's like in the sequel, it's the Seven Deadly Sins next generation. Because one thing is Bon is human and mortal now, so he's gonna age. You could get maybe like Diane and King's kid maybe on the team or something. You could do something like that, because similar to how there was the 10 Commandments of the older gen, and then we got the ones that were the main antagonists when they showed up. You could have something like that, where you could have more, and like veteran members of the Seven Deadly Sins, but as long as Meliodas is the leader. I don't know. Something along those lines. I'm hoping. I've got faith and hope towards a positive step forward. But there's an old saying: hope for the best, expect the worst. So, and that's pretty much what I'm going for this, because if it ends here, then it's just disappointing. If it continues onward, then a lot of the gripe and damage could easily be washed out, like I said. Other than that, comment below. Tell me thought about this whole thing. How do you feel about this? Do you feel similar to that I do, or do you conflict? I would like to hear what you guys have to say, because this whole thing it's very off to me, because the Demon King seemed like once he got his full power back that he was a threat, and then it was like, no, not really, and then he got that super badass humongous monster form. And if you go back and watch my video 2 chapters ago when that happened, I was hyped. I was really excited. Like, it was probably the most excited I've been for Seven Deadly Sins chapter to come out after I just saw that panel of that form. I was so excited. But other than that, comment below, like I said, thumbs up the video, put the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.